Hello and welcome to Euphoria. So in this video I'm going to do a quick update on the Lego City. I haven't done an update on the city for a while because I've been concentrating on the design and build of my latest mock, which is this large modular building that I call the Ensgrave Building. It's a 5-storey building on a 48 stud wide base plate. That's the same size as the Assembly Square Lego set. And it's a modern office building used as a research institute. I made this building as a modern addition to my city, but I still need to find a place for it somewhere in the city. The last time I did an update, I explained my plans for future development of the city layout. But before I get to those, I'd just like to welcome you here if you're a new subscriber. Thanks for subscribing. And if you're not yet a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, as that's one of the main ways that YouTube knows whether you like my content. So in this video, I'll give you a quick look at the current state of the city, and I'm going to work out how to place this building into my Lego City. Let's just have a look at the current city layout before considering how I might change it. My Lego City layout uses a mixture of Lego modular buildings from the Creator Expert Modular Buildings range, my own designs for buildings, and lots of other layout ideas and features to add interest. It's intended to be a traditional city centre, and so far it's a modest city that lives in a smallish spare room. The old town, representing the medieval town centre, is on one side of my layout, which is here on the left hand side. There's a large central square, or plaza, which has been built just outside the old town and is in the centre of the table here. And the idea is that the city continues to develop with a more modern district on the other side of the plaza. The old town is on this side. It has older style buildings which tend to be built of traditional materials like wood, brick and stone. At the moment I just have a few buildings representing the old town area, and there is some room for building more of the old town. There's a house at an angle, which is a bit of an experiment that was never really finished. This monument on the edge of the plaza is at the start of an alleyway which is meant to lead to the old town. The old astronomical clock tower is one of my own creations and a main feature of the town centre, and it's meant to be a tourist attraction in my city. Next to that is a brownstone townhouse, which is one half of the Lego Creator Expert Pet Shop modular building. In the centre of the layout is the main plaza. It has a large fountain in the middle, and it's the main open space in the city centre. It also has a number of other features like city signs, a seating area, and a sculpture called the 100 Subscribers Monument. Facing onto the square is my brick bank mock, which is a straightened and expanded version of the Lego Creator Expert brick bank modular building. It has the laundrette next door, and on the other side is the pet shop, which is the other half of the Lego Pet Shop modular building. On the right hand side are some more buildings in a traditional style. Facing onto the square is the Lego Parisian Restaurant modular building. Next to that is another one of my own creations, which is a yellow townhouse and a more modern apartment building with a cafe on the ground floor and a seating area outside. Behind that row is some space for more buildings, and I'm expecting my new building to go somewhere on this more modern side of the city. I'm just going to explain a bit about how I plan my city layout and any changes to it. In my planning video, I showed how I plan my city using these maquettes, or small architectural models, of the buildings and other features. They're built on little 4x4 plates, and in that space I make a small representation of one standard modular building. I've made one of these for each building in my city, and also a larger one to represent the main plaza at the centre of the city. For example, this one represents the Parisian restaurant. They aren't necessarily very rough approximations, but they're good enough that I can quickly and easily see what they're supposed to represent. I use these little models to try out various ways to organise the city. This is how the city is represented at the moment using this little planning system. On this side are the buildings of the old town, in the middle is the plaza and the bank, and on this side are the other buildings. As I think about changes to the city, I'll be moving these around, a bit like chess pieces, and maybe considering shapes for new buildings that I would like to have in the city layout. And here is the maquette I made of my new building. You can clearly see that it's much taller than any of the other buildings currently in my city. So the question is, where am I going to put this new large office building? The idea is that this part of the city will contain more modern buildings and will be an expansion of the city away from the old medieval quarter. Eventually, I might expand this area into a kind of business district. There are various options for positioning this building in this area, assuming first that I want to keep the positions of the other buildings the same. That means not moving anything else. So let's have a look at these options. I could put it here, behind the Parisian restaurant, where there's currently a spare base plate and a bit of a blank space in the corner. However, it would be very close to the main plaza, which is quite traditional, with a mixture of historical and traditional buildings, so I think it might be a bit out of place here. Also, of course, the first couple of floors will be hidden behind the restaurant building when viewed from the front, but that's probably true of any building that goes in this corner. I could move it over half a base plate to the corner here, which would be less hidden. It is still a bit close to the main plaza, but I can't really do anything about that without extending the table or moving other things. I think it might go quite well here. It forms a kind of visual corner to the layout, and I could leave an open space in front so that most of the building would be visible. But then I have to decide what to do with this square, which would also block the building from view. I could also position the building in the corner, but facing the other way, which is sideways. This would move it visually further away from the main plaza, but facing sideways makes it look less impressive from the front, which is the normal viewpoint for my layout. It would also directly overlook the back of the restaurant, and I think the area in front would look very cramped. And I still have to consider what to put here in front, although I could maybe have a line of buildings facing sideways down this side of the layout. there is another option to put the new building here at the front. It would be more visible than at the back, but if it faces forwards, then it blocks the whole back corner of the layout, and if it goes sideways, it doesn't really fit with the apartment building here, which is a corner building and is meant to have another building next to it. So this idea would probably mean changing something else in the layout. More options would be opened up if I were to move the whole city over by half a base plate, which is 16 studs. Generally, this would give me more room on this side of the square for the modern district of the city. But this has the disadvantage that I'm reducing the available space for building the old town on the other side. I really want both. Now, I do have another table to expand the city onto, but for now I don't need two tables as I'm still filling up this one. So maybe that's an idea for later. For now, I still want to build the old town as well as the modern part of town. So I'm not keen on moving the whole city over at the moment. Having thought about it, I've decided on the best option for now. I like the option to place the new building here in the corner. I think here it's slightly separated from the main plaza. It's still visible, and this building doesn't block the office building too much. And then I quite like the idea of having an open space in front of the building. I'm thinking about creating a new, smaller square in front of the new building over on this side. It would be much smaller than the main plaza, and perhaps only the size of one base plate. And that leads me to the idea that maybe here I could make a new half-depth building or a kind of facade building, and that would still leave me some space in front of the office building. Obviously it will be designed to be seen from one side only, but in this location that's not a problem, as it will back up against the wall here. This would give the impression of a larger building and provide a visual stop to the city on this side. Now, I haven't got a maquette for this style of building, so I'll just knock one up quickly from a few bricks. So here's a rough maquette of a facade building. As you can see, it's on the equivalent of half a base plate, and the building is just half the depth of a normal modular building. The exact colour, shape and size doesn't matter too much at this stage. It's just the basic shape that I'm after. So I can place it in position here on the side of the layout. It doesn't hide much of this side of the office building, especially if seen from this angle, but also it gives the impression that the city might extend further this way. Actually, I really like this idea because it uses less space, less bricks and less effort than creating a full modular building. So I'm going to continue with this plan. If I decide that this works, then it can be developed further later on. Let's have a quick look at the idea of making facades. A facade is just the front of the building, just a small depth of the building behind it, built to give the impression of a whole building. It's a bit like the doll's house style buildings with an open back that LEGO so often produces in play sets, except that for a facade building I would build it with a back so that you can't just see straight through it. I could make these on half base plates, which are 16 by 32 studs, with the 16 studs used as the depth. The building, or buildings, would be half depth. Conceptually, they would just be the size of a modular building chopped in half, long ways. There would still be space in front of the building for the normal pavement or sidewalk, but the building itself is only half the depth of a modular building. It would still need to have a back so that you couldn't see right through the building. Here I've started work on making a facade building using bricks that I've picked up in previous brick hauls. It's not a fully detailed building or even a fully detailed facade, but it's just a placeholder for now. If I decide that this works, then I can develop the detail later. I'm not sure about having this half base plate gap here at the side of the office building and at the corner of the square. So I think for now I'm going to reunite the two halves of the pet shop modular building by moving the townhouse half over into this half modular space. I think that will look much better, and it leaves me with this whole modular sized space in this corner that I can fill with something more appropriate to an older part of the city. At last, I'm going to place the new building in the city. According to my new plan, it goes in this corner over here. Because of the size of the building, I have to place the ground floor module in position first, before adding the other floor modules and then the roof. You can see all about the design and build of this building in the video series about it on my channel. You can clearly see how tall it is compared with the rest of the buildings. But in that corner it's still visible and gives a great backdrop to the smaller buildings in front. I'll put the facade that I started on the side here to see how that looks. I think it works okay there, and it does give the impression of another building, and it doesn't block the view of the main office building. So now, as I planned, I'm going to move the townhouse half modular building to this space here next to the new office building. I think it still looks appropriate to the traditional style of the city plaza and fills in that corner. And now I have this space nearer to the old town that I can fill with another traditional style building. In between these buildings on this side, I'm going to keep a small open space or square. It's only half a base plate, but I think it's enough to separate these buildings from the row of buildings on this side of the square. But actually, with the pavement outside the facade building and the space at the back of this building, there's actually an area larger than just 16 by 32 studs, and it's placed nice and centrally in front of the new office building. This space in front on this side is also empty for now. Because of the modern buildings that will go around this space, I'm going to call this Skyline Plaza. I think this could work really well, and I could start to develop some other fun ideas for this area, including some interesting details to go into the plaza. And of course it will need to have all the tiling added to represent the paving in this new square. So that's done with this set of changes to the city. I've placed the new office building in its chosen location. I've started with the idea of facades at the edges of the city, and I've created a new smaller square outside the main plaza. What do you think of these changes? Please let me know in the comments below, and if you have any ideas for the city, please let me know. It's taken me quite a long time to design and build the new large office building mock, because the building is quite a complex shape, and I've added lots of interior and exterior details, including the selection and in some cases modification of about 35 minifigs to go in the building. Now that it's done, I can get on with lots of other ideas for the development of my Lego city. I really like the Lego modular building sets, and I may build some more of them and place them in suitable positions in my Lego city. In particular, I may need to find somewhere for this, which is in effect another corner modular building. But as you can see, I also like to modify the standard modular buildings or make my own creations. So I'm looking forward to moving on with new developments for my city. Stay tuned to the channel to see how I get on. Thanks for watching, and please support the channel by doing the usual YouTube things, like this video and subscribe to the channel to show your support. And I hope to see you back again soon as I continue to develop my mocks and my Lego city.